Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Orange Wheel podcast, the podcast where we support business leaders in navigating the monetary transition. I'm joined today by Jim Dorra. Jim is the CEO of Tractial, a French business that is adopting a Bitcoin strategy. It's recently rebranded. It was previously called BD Multimedia. Jim and I had the pleasure of meeting in person at Prague last, in June now. And had a really interesting conversation, which left me wanting more. Fortunately, Jim was so kind as to volunteer to join the podcast to share the message and allow us some time to explore the exciting stuff that his company is doing a bit further. So with that, Jim, how are you doing today?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Ted.
Yeah. Jim and I had tried connecting while he was on vacation in French Polynesia, and the internet connection was pretty terrible. So welcome back now to Europe. I suppose you're in France at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in Paris. You cannot have everything. It's like lagoon, and internet, apparently.
Yeah, the mutually exclusive things, right? Fantastic. All right, Jim. So to kick off, maybe a quick introduction for those who might not be familiar with Trackshill or with yourself. Maybe provide the audience with a bit of flavor for kind of who you are.
Yeah, sure. So the company Tractial, for which I'm the CEO, is a tech company. It's existing since the earliest days of the web, actually. So we are deeply rooted in the early web, maybe from Web 1 to Web 3. We have been active in payment and digital finance since 2007, so nearly 2 decades. We were the first company in France to hold 2 licenses, payments institution license and virtual asset provider license, which enable us to hold account in fiat, but also in crypto for those 2 license. We have been building and operating payment platforms that handle fiat and that can be connected to crypto since like many years now. And we're fully immersed in the tech and, as you understood, the payment industry and the crypto sphere. So I guess we are in fintech. The subject today, last but not least, we are the first listed financial institution in Europe to become a BTC Treasury company. Myself, I have a background of computer science and working since the web era of the company, migrating to payment and then BTC Treasury company.
All right. Very cool. So, I find it interesting because a lot of companies that are adopting the Bitcoin Treasury company tend to, especially here in Europe, I believe, tend to be companies that were already into crypto services. And I guess there's a logical connection there. I often, given that they're already getting exposure to the asset class and understanding it at a deeper level. But maybe from TrackShill's perspective, I mean, what was it about, what ultimately triggered this shift to move into a Bitcoin Treasury strategy?
Yeah, I see. For us, but the world is kind of changing, and we have been looking at how the money is losing some values, Bitcoin becoming a new safe place, and as for the technology, in terms of blockchain, we have been convinced since like very long that it's going to change something. It's going to change actually probably many things. And when it comes to Bitcoins, for us, it was assured that it's going to be like some kind of reserve. So we saw this for long. We had to take the step to go forward to this strategy at the right moment. But I guess it was there for a long time for us. It's just we have been like just looking at what the strategy, MicroStrategy at the time was doing. We had the idea to accumulate Bitcoins since, we have been starting accumulating like a tiny Bitcoin since 2022. And since a couple of years we were thinking about it, but it was not the right time. I think the world is more open, the regulators are more open now. So I guess the shift is just this pivot is just a normal move. We're pretty. We were a payment institution before being a virtual asset provider. Provider, sorry. So it means that we got specially into it because we think that is gonna fusion in some way, or gonna be complementary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that makes it's great to see that, and it's something when I investigated all the different types of companies that have, or public companies that have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, you definitely get the sense amongst many of them that it's partly a financial strategy, and for many it's also kind of strategic in the sense that there is a perspective, and I think it's a solid one, that there will be some integration with the operational businesses. I think if you're already in payments, I think it makes sense. I think something that's a bit more of a step out, but we just kind of got news today, was from Rumble, the social media platform. They had announced putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet a few months ago, and now they're talking about integrating Lightning payments. So I think we're going to potentially see more of these kind of like synergies for both strategic operational integration and the financial story as well. Do you kind of have perspectives on that?
Yeah, it's like for us. We're in a payment services for long, at least a decade, and by doing this move on the BTC accumulation, to announce that we're gonna accumulate fast, we have been. For us, it's just it makes the company stronger. We see that we have to move very fast. It's just changing the possibility. We have been in contact with a lot of different type of companies, and people are contacting us. So it's also give us opportunity. What you mentioned just before, it's like, okay, you just think, okay, it's going to be a reserve. For us, of course it was like it's more than a reserve, because it's a tool. We already have a payment product, we already have crypto products. So for us it was just a normal move, but for other company, maybe it's going to just open them to the crypto world and think, okay, we use it as a reserve, and okay, maybe it's better than storing in USD or euro. It's a move for it's a treasury move only. But after that, they're going to maybe analyze a bit more. And because of that, it's going to open more opportunity to the crypto capability. And you mentioned Lightning, which is about payments. So it's always interesting, because the people think that I've been talking in Prague about the paradox of the payment and the reserve. So Bitcoin is seen as a reserve, and people say, okay, the network is slow, so it's not going to work for payment. But it's like saying the gold is low. It's just a reserve. But on top of that, you're gonna have tools that enable you to use the money at some point to spend it.
Definitely. I guess it's also like, if people saw the internet back in 1992, they've been like, oh, this is never going to replace anything because it's so slow, right? Using 14.4 dial-up modems, right? So, kind of looking back to 22, you mentioned that you had started accumulating Bitcoin in 22 as an asset for the business. I'm just kind of curious, the technical details of this, like, was it, first of all, on the accumulation methodology, were you getting your profits in fiat and then electing to convert some of that into Bitcoin, or were you actually getting, given the nature of your business, were some of your revenues actually coming in denominated in Bitcoin itself or other crypto assets?
No, not at all. The move was actually to regular revenue in fiat. Decided to create a reserve in Bitcoin, because we were like a Bitcoin enthusiastic at this time. Maximalist in the point that we always thought that it's going to go much higher, and we just put what was safe for us, because also the company was into restructuring. So despite the deficit, we decided to put some of our cash in it, which was a smart move, I think.
Yeah,
we see it now.
Okay, and for just, again, very technical here, but I'm just kind of curious. From an accounting perspective, then, how did that kind of appear on your financial statements? Was it its own line item, or was it showing up as something within another group of assets?
Oh, so actually, the initial funds were coming from a subsidiary that we have in Hong Kong. So this is a subsidiary that we have been using to kind of R&D products. So we started actually the payment, the payment.net platform. We started in Hong Kong with some customer, and then after we released for Europe. Just technically speaking, questions of regulatory questions. It's just and it was the same for the Bitcoin. So we actually used the funds that we have in this subsidiary. And as of your question, in terms of accounting in Europe and in Hong Kong is different. You have to register the profits as a financial profit. I'm not sure if the term is good in Hong Kong. So every year you're gonna have a loss on or profit depending, which is not the case in France, because in France we are not trading the crypto. So if we store in France, you're just gonna have like an amount which you of
At cost.
an asset, sorry, an asset which is not on the balance sheet directly.
Oh, okay. It's off balance sheet then. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, so in Hong Kong, it's kind of as if it's like an asset held for trading. And
Yeah.
you're marking to market every year or
Yeah.
something, and then the profits or losses flow
Yes.
through your P&L.
Different.
Okay. Interesting. So then more recently then, I guess, and excuse me for not kind of being too familiar with TrackShill's recent news, but did you supplement this Bitcoin kind of accumulation strategy with an explicit capital raise for further Bitcoin purchases? Is that something that's happened more recently?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So what we're seeing happen now with a lot of Bitcoin Treasury companies is they're actively just raising capital exclusively for the purpose of building their Bitcoin reserve or adding to their Bitcoin reserve. Is this a lever that that Trackchill has also been pursuing?
Yeah. So what we announced to the market is that we have put the payment services product on track with a nice growth and profits. This will help fuel the strategy as of, I mean, we can do it investment on our own funds. We already did it with a smart DCA. But on the other side, we have also to finance how to raise money. Okay, this is important because actually it's a real business at some point and real work. I mean, to raise money, and we're gonna raise only in the purpose of accumulating Bitcoin. That's important. It's not to financing any other activity. It's more raising to accumulate Bitcoin. Yeah, and so we already. Accumulated. Well, we started and announced the shift about 2 months ago, including July, and we accumulated 25 bitcoins as of now. So it's just starting, and the idea is to raise capital, of course.
Okay, got it. Great. So then, if we look at the like cyclicality of Bitcoin. So maybe first of all, it'd be good to get your impression. I mean, do you believe there's a bit of a debate happening, the degree to which Bitcoin's price will remain cyclical going forward, given the kind of nature of new institutional demand entering the market? Do you foresee there still being some degree of cyclicity going forward in the Bitcoin price?
It's hard to tell, but I mean, for me, the move of all those companies, I mean, there will be it's going to be a world reserve. So, of course, there could be issue in, I mean, some funds blocking like a lot of bitcoins and then exiting. But overall, I guess what the people are realizing is like we are in front of a reserve, and it's limited. So at some point, it's going to be it's going to continue to be accumulated by many people. Will it for technical questions? Will it block the network at some point? Will it make it like maybe less decentralized? That's the questions. But I think we have sometimes before we see those problems.
Yeah, and so I guess on the price trajectory, if we kind of assume that there still will be some degree of bear and bull markets, I imagine I tend to agree with you. I think distant future is going to be very, very stable. But as it continues to monetize, there'll probably still be significant drawdowns potentially. So how do you, from a strategic standpoint, kind of prepare for potential bear markets while still making sure that you can kind of make the most of the bull markets?
For my personal vision is like I don't think there's going to be a bear market this year. That's my personal vision. I mean, of course, when it moves up and down, I mean, it's like the stock market, but power 10 times. So it's just trigger a lot of anxiety or enthusiasm. But I think it's gonna continue to raise up to 200K. But and we had like I mean, a lot of people were surprised about the milestone of 100K. So I think it's gonna go to 1 million maybe quicker than people expect. But we have to prepare to the bear market. So it means that we prepare to the bear market for us just not having to sell. So for that, I personally think that BTC Treasury company need a real activity to fuel the strategy. I mean, you can raise capital to fuel the strategy, but I don't know if people realize that there's like a lot of regulatory things involved. There's a lot of security involved. So this costs money, and there's a lot of communication involved as well. So this costs money, and you need to finance that somehow. For us, it's going to be a cost, and we see it. I mean, in major company strategy, the deficit deposit is big. So many BTC treasury company will actually post a lot of loss, and because of that, we need to be ready not to sell bitcoins to cover the loss and have some kind of other type of fuels.
Right, and those other type of fuels. I mean, what would they be in your case? Is it your operating business in the
Yeah.
payments space? Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, say maybe it's not okay, but for us, we think that the Bitcoin will help us to move faster and to get the reserve, and it's gonna help in the future. But in the bear market, we still focus, as we still focus on business. We're gonna have, I mean, we are gonna stay profitable. So if we stay profitable, and we can finance the BTC Treasury initiative. Also.
Yep.
So it's just by keeping the real business. That's why it was important to us to announce to the market and to demonstrate that we can have a profitable business. And because of that, we are really, I mean, comfortable with going into the BTC Treasury company like by putting a lot of energy in it. I mean, we're just redirecting resources, human resources, into that because we know that the real business, I mean, the business that make profit is on track.
Okay. So maybe give a flavor for, like, I think maybe I should have mentioned this a bit, or this question earlier, but like what is it that's going to kind of dictate for you how much resources you kind of dedicate into the operating business versus into the Bitcoin strategy, whether it be financial or, as you brought up, also just human resources, time and energy. When do you allocate more into or when do you expect to allocate more into the Bitcoin treasury accumulation and when into the operating business, or is it something where there's always going to be a kind of fixed balance? I mean, how do you see that kind of allocation of capital and resources playing out?
Yeah, sure. So, in an operational perspective, so we're still a small company. We are about 30 people, depending 20 to 30, fluctuating. We were able. So maybe people don't see that because I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the interview that we are here from the early web. And because of that, we have this culture of web communication and, I mean, technology. So we were able to use and those resources we have. For the first 2 months, we took 70% of the human resources, and we shifted to this project. which means like a lot of people, because we have to get on track with a lot of things. In terms of legal perspective, in terms of regulatory, which is different than legal for us, in terms of platforms, in terms of security, so development, and then communication. So we do have this ability to redirect our human resources from the web divisions, and that this is something which is I think pretty nice. Uh, we'll see in the future how we increase the number of people, because we're gonna need those people, of course, go back on the project. But as of now, as I mentioned, we think that we put something on track, and the most effort we did, like, since the last 2 years, is actually to put on track the product, to get profit out of it, and being able to create projects. The multimedia and now Tractial, the story is to create a lot of projects. We have been builders. We are builders in our DNA. So for us, like, building from ground a new strategy is actually the mindset of all the employee we have. So all the people, all the team love to build new stuff, tackle new challenge, and that's actually what they are doing.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's also an advantage to these kind of like smaller, more nimble companies is that, um, you have agility, but you also have that kind of DNA that used to being entrepreneurial and changing, doing something new. It actually inspires people. Really big companies, I think, have become the opposite, right? Where there's a lot more maybe inertia to change and restrictions. Would you agree with that? There's something in the DNA and the corporate culture that kind of enables such a strategy, whereas maybe some of your peers or competitors wouldn't make this change.
Yeah, totally. Actually, I often joke about being, the company being a startup of the 80s. But the idea is to always to have the startup spirit. This when it comes to taking the right product at the right moment, this essential. This is actually essential. And the people that the people that I have around me is pretty young. So all the people the people will stay for long in our company. So we don't have a lot of turnover, but they will come pretty young, because they know that the small company will give them the opportunity to acquire experience, to get autonomy. So we trust a lot, and we have a lot of people around the company which are actually specialized in a different type of area. So we have people coming from the data scientist part. We have people coming from the only web part. We have people coming from the crypto part, and everybody has like his own experience and is able to provide ideas. And my job is to seize the idea of all people, and get the right idea for the right momentum. And there's like everybody is able to propose something. So I guess it works like a startup.
No, super cool. So then, like a lot of companies now are kind of coming out with these kind of fairly ambitious targets that are setting. They say we want to accumulate 10,000 BTC in the next 3 years or so. Has Trackchill been working with targets along these lines? How do you think about target setting?
Yeah, so the first milestone was to get into the top 100 of companies, which we achieved. Of course, it's moving fast. I think it's a long-term run. We can say, okay, we're going to stay in the top 20, we're going to stay on top 100. We have to look at a bigger picture, I think. There. First of all, we came from the finance part, so we know a bit about a lot of tools, and we have to be very precautious about how to raise money. This is something very important. I'm talking about not blocking the future move by raising too much at the wrong time, and raising a lot when it comes to be the right time. Okay, that's something which is important. And also, as I mentioned, there's the perspective of preparing for the bear market. As I mentioned, I don't think it's going to come now, but we have to be prepared about it. If you look at strategy, there was a point where they were almost about to die, so it's something that can happen. So we have to be really precautionous about it, and thinking about the shareholders, because we are public. So it's something which is we have some we have a duty about it. And nowadays you see it like maybe there's 200, something like that, companies doing a BTC Treasury company in the world. So if you look at the stock exchange, all stock exchange, how many companies are worth investing in? I mean, of course, it's worth investing in Tesla or Google. But how many other companies do you have that you want to invest in because you think it's interesting? It's interesting. I mean, there's like thousands. Okay, so a lot of people are thinking that we are just the first wave. So getting through the first wave and going to the second wave of maybe bigger actors, banks. I don't know. We cannot forecast what is going to happen. For a time, Tesla had a lot and then sold. We don't know how it's gonna go. But the idea is to accumulate and continue accumulating. My personal goal is to achieve to 2,000 bitcoins in a near term future. But it's like a huge goal for a small company like us. But some other company did it. They were like only zombies or resurrected companies. It can work, but we also have to see about the next step after, because I don't think it's a job that we have to fulfill for 2025. It's something that we have to fulfill for many years. So starting really fast is super important, but not blocking the future is also super important.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perspective that you don't hear much in the kind of Bitcoin treasury space right now, right? It's definitely, I think that's a contrarian view. And I personally like it. I think that's kind of consistent with more of the orange wheel philosophy, which is like, this is, corporate adoption of Bitcoin is, I like the way we put it, like being a bit more prudent and long-term thinking, slow and steady, and that then tying that back to like targets, right? Targets can be double-edged swords in a lot of ways, as you kind of brought up, right? They can inspire people to kind of think bold and move quickly and do some pretty daring things, but it can also force companies into, or incentivize companies to move into more risky forms of financial instruments, taking on excessive debt, which can, as you brought up, put maybe risk that companies go under in the bear market. And I'm pretty convinced that there will be companies that do do that, right? That have to liquidate their Bitcoin holdings, and it will be interesting to see what happens. Companies like Tractial, maybe the more prudent ones, will be potentially positioned to buy those at a discount when they do hit the market.
But that's the thing. It's like nobody wants a scandal on the BTC Treasury company, but it's gonna happen eventually. So that's the real issue here. So I'm not saying that we're not going to move fast. It's since we announced, I've been contacted by lots of investors. Some are just people that don't pay attention about the resources of the company, and they don't pay attention, of course, of the debt capability they have. They just want to have and also the shareholders, because there's some tools that are provided now. Can be very destructive for the stock price. So that is something that we have to pay attention as well, because people, shareholders, are looking at that. So we're not prudent in a way of saying, okay, we're not going to move fast. We're going to move fast. But the idea is just to raise attention, because in those kind of interview, I think which is important is to talk to people about what could be dangerous for them. Well, I'm pretty sure that investing in Tractial is not an advice, but won't be risky. But in other companies, I don't know, I cannot mention specifically. It's more a general topic about accumulating fast is great. Many companies can do it, and they're going to do it very well. And when we see MetaPlanet, it's like incredible. Those people are actually coming from the finance side, so they know what they are doing. And we're going to do the same. But I think there could be traps from more naive companies.
Certainly. Yeah, and I guess when you look at the tools or the financial instruments that you could offer, I mean, at this stage, is there anything that you would say is out of bounds, or is it something that you're kind of going to evaluate and develop your strategy on more like on a case by case basis as things evolve? How do you feel about like debt instruments, preferred stock? Is everything on the table, or how do you think about that?
You mean about the tools for raising capital or,
exactly.
Accumulating Bitcoin?
Yeah, exactly. For raising
Yeah,
capital.
so we try to parallelize different type of tools. We're not inventing like a lot of stuff, because when I talk about smart DCA, it's just DCA with some idea of volatility and buying more when it's more interesting, with some rules that we have to follow. This is like not big, but I think it's important. It's like something that shows that we use our own funds to accumulate.
Yes, makes sense.
On the other side, we have to raise capital. So to raise capital, there's like we see different types, like private investors. So we're gonna go private investor first, and then we plan to go public as well. And when it comes to the tools, it could be through equity. And convertible note is a convertible note. I think is a really nice tool, and we also we're working on the BTC convertible note as well.
Okay, and that BTC convertible is similar to what the blockchain group kind of issued a few months ago.
Yeah. The thing that actually Adam Back do with a lot of company.
Great.
So he's the one doing that first.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that actually. That's great to hear. On the private investor side, so can you give a flavor for who the private investors that you would typically be investing? What the makeup of these investors are? Are they typically it's Bitcoin native funds led by kind of OGs, or is it kind of a new segment coming into this space?
So I'm not sure I can communicate about those now. For what we had previously, which is the start, it's more people connected to the fitness sphere. So being in the fitness sphere and the crypto sphere allows us to have people, as I mentioned, contacting us. So we have been in contact. We released like a partnership with a mining company. So we're gonna have like people, maybe small investors, that will come to us and say, okay, I have some BTC and I want to lend to you guys, and then we can, do a synergy about it. And we're gonna have also people like just investing in a payment company. So because they know we have been doing the payment side, and also they see that the move of the BTC Treasury is a bold move and it could benefit. So they value more the payment industry side, because some people are just a bit reluctant to saying, okay, but what does it produce, this BTC? Do you have yield or some, so they prefer the payment industry. And there's the classic investor that wants to put more money to help us to accumulate Bitcoins. Those are more classic investors.
Got it. Yeah, it's something, when I speak with some of our clients and companies that, we deal with, that we talk about Bitcoin, treasury strategies, that tends to be a bit of a breaking point, is their current investor group are not really understanding or interested in, Bitcoin accumulation. They're into the kind of classic strategy for the business. They want, earnings growth. And there tends to be that kind of like, I think that's also reason. So that there aren't that as many. There's a lot of growth in Bitcoin treasury companies, but still it's not widely adopted immediately, right? Because I think most investors are still not really understanding it. Although the investor group who does want Bitcoin per share growth is a small but growing segment. But I think that switch, I think strategy is done very well, because they can, first of all, it's kind of Saylor owns so much that he can kind of direct the company without having to convince a whole bunch of other directors and investors, but he's able to kind of find a way to issue preferred stock to the segment of investors who want the fiat yield, and then use those proceeds to buy Bitcoin for the equity investors who want Bitcoin per share growth. But I guess my question for you is like, how, if you can kind of maybe summarize, like for fairly succinctly, if the investors who are going to buy the equity in Tractial, if they're Bitcoin focused, their benchmark is going to be just buying spot Bitcoin. So why is it, if I'm an investor who's looking to invest in a company like yours, how is it that Trackchill would develop further growth in Bitcoin per share than me just buying Bitcoin? And why should I invest in Trackchill rather than MicroStrategy, for example? What's the benefit?
Sure. So you mean private investor or the public?
Just anybody buying your equity. It could be
Okay.
it could be either, I guess. But
Okay, buying the equity on the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you mentioned private investor, so it's important also that private investor do understand the strategy and Bitcoin and what is behind. So and actually the people that mentioned that, I've been contacted a lot through LinkedIn. They are all already acquainted about the BTC strategy, just for information. So private investor, about your questions, was more people that are already acquainted with the strategy and wants to accumulate more in their portfolio. And as of the difference between investing in a small cap and super cap like strategy, I think the answer is actually what is already happening in the stock market. So you might want to go to invest in Google, but except if you are taking Google, I'm just taking Alphabet and Google as an idea. You see, it could be anyone, one of the bigs. You have to take the share when there's a headwinds, or because you know it's a growth stock, but still as of now the capitalization is big. So I guess it's approximately the same for us. We are a very small capitalization, which is starting. So it's more like you're thinking that we are in shape to raise capital. We have what it needed, financially speaking, and also in terms of competence. And we announced that we're going to raise more. And then you think, okay, it's going to be the case. That's also the reason why I'm explaining our view and how we are going to do it. And then it's more like a bet that could do, I don't know, 3 times, 10 times your investment, something like that. I guess the people expect.
So just higher beta, given that you're smaller for now. That kind of makes sense.
I mean,
guess,
even sailors mentioned it, I think, in a tweet like a week or two. It's difficult to do 10 times when you are super big.
Yeah, certainly. So then how then, I mean, if there's a proliferation of more companies pursuing a similar strategy, then do you think there's a risk that, at least in the secondary market, that investors are jumping just from one company? They'll kind of participate with you for a period of time and then kind of get out and go to the next hot new small Bitcoin Treasury company. How do you, I guess, create stickiness to keep the investors along for the ride for the longer term?
You need to demonstrate that you have a strategy for long term, as I mentioned. If the company is not growing like in a steady pace for long, people will just doubt about it. Moving into like the next small companies, as I mentioned, it depends what type of companies. So there could be like a lot of people, like people are mentioning like there's a bubble or something. I don't think there's a bubble, or at least if it's like the web one, where you're gonna get Google and other. Sorry about Google, but
Amazon, Google.
Amazon, Google, and those you're gonna get Amazon out of it. So it's just I mean, everybody has his own investment strategy. For me, I'm pretty sure that having a real business is a game changer. We're gonna see it in the future. Maybe we're gonna see like resurrected company, not to call them zombies, buying business, profitable business, because then I have to do it. A company launching crypto services will be very important as well, to have like this kind of spirit continuing and partnership. So this can be achieved by a lot of company in the world, of course, but I mean, we're pretty confident that we've been there for a long time. We want to go somewhere else. I mean, to the moon probably. Um, so it's just for us now, the putting the right work to accumulate and steadily for years, even during bear market. That's for me. That's the key. That's the key.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you touched on this a bit earlier, but you talked about communication. I get the sense investors relations for companies in this segment, but potentially this is a more paradigm shift more generally for the next generation of retail investors. But we're seeing a lot more social media being important. New retail investors are looking for different KPIs. I mean, maybe just kind of give a little bit of perspective on how you're thinking about communicating to your stakeholders, investor relations. What are some of the key success factors from your perspective when it comes to communication?
So myself, you have not been seeing me a lot on the web. Yeah, that's not because I'm not using the web. Like for example, but it has been like super clear for me that it's super important now that people know a bit about the company, and knowing a bit about the company, of course, is knowing about the people that take the company somewhere else. When it comes to the company itself and what the team has brought to the company, we have been doing web marketing since the early days of the web. With that, the first payment product, we onboarded more than 200,000 merchants. It was like very small, tiny merchants. So we always did kind of B2C web marketing. The product we have, we are active on the social media. Now it's the front line. We never had to, talk about historically BDMT Media and Tractial. Now we have to talk about it because we know that what is important is understand the strategy of companies. Understanding the strategy of company gives the possibility to raise capital. Raising capital will give the possibility to value more the company and so and so. So it's we are initiating this circle, and we kind of have the knowledge about it. So it's super important to communicate, to be crystal clear about the goals, how we're doing, how we are going to be delivering, listening to the community, answering to the questions, answering to anxiety. As soon as the stock will go down, people will just scream. As soon as the stock will go up, they're gonna scream in the other way. So it's important to listen to that, listen to the signal. Already had some nice ideas from the community, and we already have a group of people following us for long. They're just contacting for us some media. It was pretty interesting to see some media contacting us saying, okay, we have people from your community that talked about you guys, and we didn't know you. We want to know a bit more about you. So this is something that we know. This is something I've not been doing by the past because there was no point to do it. Actually, we are just selling the product, But now we have to talk about the company itself because the reserve is in the company itself, Trackchill. So this is something we've been doing. We're going to be doing more and more, and the more we're going to talk about us, the more people will ask a bit more about us.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think what I find kind of interesting about this phenomenon is we're seeing these kind of, and I think it existed pre-Bitcoin treasury companies to a certain extent, but I think it's taken it to the next level where these kind of independent analysts are actually becoming the more influential voices in the kind of research community and the retail investor community, more so than going to how is it that Goldman Sachs or BNP Paribas values TrackShill. It's a bit more about, okay, how is MSTR True North thinking about MicroStrategy? That's kind of, I think, very fascinating. So maybe over time you'll end up developing a little bit of an analyst community around TrackShill that can then start becoming almost like your your unpaid investor relations arm of your business, right? And any thoughts on that and perspective on
Yeah.
kind of the
So
organic research community?
I was discussing about like a journalist, like economy journalist. That was doing it since long, and he's seeing this shift. But it's kind of the media story, you know. And that's why for me it's not really new. Like we had like the classical media, and the classical media are suffering. They have to move into the web. They're moving, and how to keep like how to stay independent. The media is also the social media is also trying to follow the laws about seeing who is paid, not paid, those kind of stuff, and also the influencers is actually digging more, and that's something really great. I mean, uh, before it was like the press was maybe a bit asleep. So I think it's a bit of everything that we see on the web. As it comes for the crypto side, what I find really nice for the BTC Treasury as of now is we don't enter into something. I mean, a lot of influencers are very precautionous, more than during the NFT boom. At this time, people were like advising scams, which is actually not the case. I've been discussing with some influencer, some of those who are following me actually on my X. And the way they calculate all those MNAV and stuff, like in a fraction of a second, you see that you have in front of you guys, of you somebody which is already trading for a long time. So you know, and there's like also this eToro trend with like those influencers in it. So this is just the era of the web with the trading. It has happened, I think, with with a lot of industries. And when it comes to BTC Treasury Company, they're trying to put new KPIs in front because they are understanding more than traditional analysts. But I guess in a couple of years from now, we're gonna see like a traditional analyst taking new KPIs for those kind of companies. I guess it's gonna be something different. You know, it's like for the banks. You know, you don't. The money coming in, coming out on their balance sheets. It's just the money of their customers. They're not counting at. You have to find new ways for those kind of companies. So the influencers that are focused on BTC Treasury Company are just paving the way of the new KPIs. Some KPIs can be interesting. Others, you know, for example, for us, the MNAV is come for the Bitcoin. Um, it's it's a bit different because we already have some assets. So if you don't value the asset of having like a double license in Europe, being able to do payment services, I mean, this is something that you don't value the goodwill value of those assets. So I think it's going to evolve, and this is something which is really nice because people are just following. I mean, KPIs which can be compared, which is the first step. And then in the future, we're going to see what assets are really important for BTC Treasury Company. And probably the more classical analyst, less for now, you know, the banks now, they are all selling cryptos. So
Yeah, exactly.
and it
It's
was
just a
not
matter
the
of time
case
until
two years ago. So we see a radical shift. We might have this shift in the economical analyst. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good analog, right? I think the banks are not going to be left out entirely. It's the independent analyst will probably set the direction and
Yeah.
pave the way, and then the banks will follow once it's kind of like okay to do so, right? Yeah, cool. So we're kind of getting towards the end of the conversation here, but I'd like to kind of ask a few more questions. The first of all, maybe a bit more, looking to the future. The immediate future, the next few months, let's say the next 3-6 months, what's, to the extent that you can disclose any of this, what are going to be the kind of key milestones for Trackchill in the next 3-6 months, and what are you most excited about more generally?
First, we are in the process of starting an engine of raising capital. So the next milestone. We did it with a first few investors. The second step will be like deals with more investors, and what I'm really excited is to do offer to the public. That's something that I really want to deep dive in it. I think that's something which is we can have like many type of super tools that enable to continue the cycle of investing in Bitcoin. We're seeing it with strategy. So I think you can be unstoppable if you are you have the capability of asking the public and the shareholders to participate to the tools that enable you to raise.
And if you were to kind of talk to the community of business leaders who are running, let's say, traditional businesses, maybe some of these businesses are already in the fintech / crypto space. Maybe some of them are in more traditional operating businesses, but they might be curious about a Bitcoin treasury strategy. What are just some pieces of advice that you might give to business leaders that might be in a position like that about the merits of the strategy or things to be aware of?
Yeah, sure. So, and this is something I didn't mention, but when we were talking about how fast we want to move, what about the big players now? Keep up the pace. I think that, as I mentioned, there's not a lot of factors. So that's the moment to do it. For me, if somebody has a real business, and he wants to invest in something because he has some cash that he cannot reinvest in the same business, and they think that the bitcoins will. I mean, he believes in the Bitcoin. I say they need to start now. No matter what, no matter how much you're going to put, no matter if you want to raise capital to put more or just accumulating bitcoins. It's going to be rewarding in the future. So it's just the beginning. People thought, okay, we are just on top of the curve of the Bitcoin. I don't think so. So my personal view is like I'm telling I mean, people or company, if you want to store something else than real estate or fiat, then do it now.
Yeah, it's kind of like just the same advice for individuals, right? Get off zero, so to speak, right? Don't stay on the sidelines forever. And I kind of tend to agree with you. I think one of the risks right now is that, you know, from the people outside the Bitcoin community, when they're looking at the corporate Bitcoin adoption, I think they feel like, oh, this is all just MicroStrategy copycats. They're just it's a bubble. It's going to collapse. It doesn't make sense. But I think people are losing the fact that, you know, this is going to be how all companies are capitalized in the future, and those that move sooner are stand to benefit immensely, right? And as you brought up, just saving retained earnings in Bitcoin rather than paying it out as dividends or saving it in money market funds just makes sense for almost every business.
Yeah, sure. It's like I mean, if you don't believe in Bitcoin, I mean, you don't want to believe that those company and us we're gonna survive in the future or it's gonna have any benefit. If we're just not doing something which is pointless, you know, we're putting the money in an asset and saying that it's just a copycat. I mean, how many companies are a copycat of another company? I mean, that's the history. For me, I've been like living a lot in Asia. You're copying your master, and maybe eventually you're going to become the master. I don't know. So for me, how many banks have been copying other banks? How many payment service provider have been copycatting other service provider? How many restaurants have been copycatting a service provider? The idea is like, okay, if you invest in a company that is copycatting another one, maybe you think there's like something different in it. So that's the point. For me, the point is not, oh, they're going to collapse, all of them. If you think the Bitcoin will collapse, yes, probably many companies will collapse. If you believe in Bitcoin, I mean, those companies will not collapse. They have accumulated Bitcoins. If they need to sell the Bitcoins for any other reason external to Bitcoin, then yes, they're going to collapse, but that's something else. If they don't need to sell the Bitcoins, then they just have an assets. Like they're piling some golds that like the banks did it like to 1 or 2 centuries before. We're just piling an asset. We think that this asset will be the right asset. We're trying to do it quick as possible. depending the market, depending the context, bull, bear, price of Bitcoin, of course, and appetence of investors, and and eventually we're gonna just have this asset in the balance sheet. So it's not a loss; it's just something in addition.
Amazing. This has been a really insightful conversation, Jim. I love the fact that you bring a bit of a different perspective to this space. I mean, talking about moving fast but still being consistent, thinking about the long game, thinking about how to kind of continue accumulating through the cycle. Also bringing that perspective of the importance of the interactions with the operating business and realizing synergies, especially if they're already in the fintech and crypto space. I think that was all really, really fascinating stuff to hear, as well as the perspectives on communication, investor relations, capital raising, all that. Before we go, maybe just let the audience know, where would they find more information on Trackchill? Where is it listed? What's the stock ticker symbol?
Yeah, sure. So the ticker symbol, I think I put it here on my name, BDM. Euronext Growth is the market, Paris. So accessible for a lot of people in the world.
Fantastic.
And as of the social media, we have a X, which is a Tractial X. The website, which is actually still a BD Multimedia, because the Tractial company just we were going to move to Tractial just now, and they're going to be like a Tractial.com, and all the extension you can imagine. And last but not least, we have also a page for the BTC Treasury, which is a btc.tractial.com.
Fantastic. I'll be sure to put all those links in the video description. Yeah. Thanks so much, Jim. It's been a fantastic conversation. Look forward to following Trackchill and hoping to catch up with you again in the future.
Thank you, Ted.